celebration celebrating the grand reopening of the Southeast Area Command, the Phil Chacon Memorial Substation. Today you all will be hearing from Mayor Keller, Major Luke Langwit, and some of the family members of Phil Chacon's family, his daughter Denise and his son Robert. We would also like to recognize some of our city councilors who are here today. That is Councilor Tammy Feeblecorn, and we'd like to give her a special thanks. She actually donated the food today that we'll be able to enjoy afterwards. There will be refreshments following this ceremony. And it's her birthday. And then also, we would also like to recognize Councilor Dan Champagne and Councilor Nicole Rogers, and I also was told that there are some representatives from our legislators here, so thank you for being here in support of this event. I will go ahead and turn it over to Mayor Keller to kick it off. Thank you.
All right, well, good morning to all our folks in the APD family and, of course, neighbors throughout the International District and advocates and community members who work in this area. I see folks from all over the sort of community, and I'm getting a little signal to turn it up a notch. So there we go. Thank you. All right, so let's start again. Good morning, everybody. This is a very special occasion. It is something that we have not done actually in, I think, 25 years, which is dedicate a new station. Obviously, this is a bit of a renovation, but because we literally tore the whole thing down, it's basically a new station. So for us, a couple of things. I want to welcome all our neighbors. I see tons of neighborhood leaders here, from Pete from the District 6 Coalition, our former county treasurer, Nancy Burris from La Mesa. I met Siesta Hills earlier. And so we're just really grateful to see those folks here. There are a number of former APD officers here, as well as a ton of community advocates. Folks who work with all aspects of that continuum of care and safety that we try and provide in the city of Albuquerque. And this really is also extra special because we have members of the Chacon family here who are going to speak in a little bit. And so as I look around this crowd, I'm reminded just how special and diverse and layered our community is in terms of how much we love this city and how much we also appreciate and respect those who try and keep us safe and try and keep our community together each and every day. So there's a couple of things I want to share about this occasion, and I also want to acknowledge that we do have some officers here who actually served with Phil Chacon, including Nick Backus, and so I think he was public safety commissioner or something. He was the big cheese for a while. Good to see you, Nick. So a few notes on this. I think first, to the community, I do want to acknowledge this has been part of a reinvestment in the Southeast, in the International District, a reinvestment that is now over $80 million. It has included a new library. It has included smaller things like hundreds of new street lights. It has included the new ACS headquarters, which is down on San Mateo. It's even included the Gateway Center, which is rehabbing, of course, that old Loveless property and providing services for folks who are unhoused. It's also included Phil Chacon Park, which, by the way, if the family didn't know, that whole thing is getting renovated too. So we're going to see you in like 4 months, I hope, for that one. And it also includes, next up, by the way, is Mesa Verde, which is the park in La Mesa. And of course, we did Wilson Park first. And there are, I could actually go on, but these are major investments that make a statement that we are never going to give up on anywhere in Albuquerque, including the International District. And we're also going to put our money where our mouth is. I know there's other councilors here who don't represent the International District, but yet they have supported these projects. Because frankly, it's reversing decades of underinvestment that we should have had here in the first place. And so we're going to continue to do that. And by the way, it's a very similar story in the Southwest. These were the two areas that were neglected for so long. And we're working very hard to reverse that. And this police station is also a major statement towards that. Now, a little bit about the history of this renovation. For us, when I came in, folks wanted to actually move this station to San Mateo. Now, I mention that only because, and it was well-intentioned, but there was a whole different theory about why they wanted to do that. And I think we got together and we talked to the officers and the area commanders here, and everyone agreed, first off, this station is very, very important, literally where it is. It is literally next to a school, as you can see. It is literally next to a community center and next to our Veterans Memorial on the other side and next to a highly problematic apartment complex where there has been lots of criminal activity in the past. So this station has to stay here. And it also has to stay here for why it was renamed after Phil Chacon. And so, of course, what we came up with was adding the ACS station down on San Mateo. So I think like we had the best of both worlds. But saving this station, but also saying that we're gonna fix it up was one of the first decisions I made when I came in. And it took us a long time. It's taken us 6 years to pull this project off with the funding and COVID and all these other things. But we also decided to do this. I said if we are going to have a police station in the Southeast, it should be one of the top police stations in the entire state. And that is hard to do. That takes funding, it takes all sorts of things. It needs a community room. It needs a gym that works. It needs detention cells so that we can actually have people before they're picked up by the prisoner transport unit. It needs a secure area for our officers to park and transition into their actual on-duty activity. And it also needs a community room, a place that the community can come together with neighborhood associations and literally be connected with our men and women in the Albuquerque Police Department. That is what we now have. This is a tremendous facility. It is first rate. It has all the upgrades and amenities that our officers have ever wanted. We got lots of input on this. It even has a nice new office for our commander. And, well, both of them. We also have a major now, but we'll talk about the specifics in a little bit. But the point is this. This is something to be proud of for our officers and our neighbors and for this community. It's a massive statement that we believe and we care and we invest in our police department and public safety, but also in the International District and in the community around it. So for us, I'm going to hand it over to some other folks to share some perspectives. I do want to acknowledge this was also part and parcel to our last two chiefs. I do want to acknowledge that Chief Geyer, he was the commander here when I met him, when I was the state senator in this area. And in fact, much of what this community has taught me was literally in the old station. And if you remember that old station, it was really dingy. There wasn't like a window in the whole place. And there was also nowhere to do all sorts of things that officers need to do now with respect to technology. But both chiefs also believed in this vision. And it took chiefs and our new counselors to kind of rework that and say, this is where we should invest our funding. There's also state legislators who helped put money in this. I want to thank them. And of course, everyone across multiple city council offices, because there's been some turnover, who've helped make this happen. So with that, let me hand it over to, he has an amazing story coming out of Highland High School and has been commander here now for quite some time. And I know has been a wonderful connection and bridge to the community. Now he is, I think technically he's acting, but we're just going to call him Major Luke Langwit today, and let's bring him up next.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I'd like to thank everyone for being here, specifically the community for supporting the desperately needed renovations that we needed here. I'd like to thank the mayor, the administration, Chief Medina. He was really excited about being here. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to join us. And then also, of course, multiple city councils and city councilors that had a role in definitely making sure that we got the facility that we need to carry out our duties. Like the mayor said, I just like to share a little personal story about myself. This is home for me. I did attend Highland High School. I worked at Wyoming and Central. I stayed over at Utah and Trumbull, so the International District has a very special place in my heart because this is home. 18 years ago, I started as a patrol officer here in the Southeast, assigned to the Phil Chacon Memorial Substation. In fact, there are officers here in the crowd, I won't name them, but we started together. There's been a number of officers and supervisors that we all come back to the Phil Chacon Memorial Substation. When I promoted to sergeant, my first graveyard assignment as a sergeant was here at Phil Chacon. When the opportunity came up to take over the Southeast Area Command, I was very blessed and fortunate that Chief Medina and Mayor Keller gave me the opportunity. I look at it kind of like a full circle. This is where I started my career as a patrol officer, and as far as my last command, in patrol. I'm so blessed that it was here. I will tell you, kind of to what the mayor said, the old station, it seemed like every other week we had plumbing issues. It was a little bit outdated. It probably was as old as I am. I don't know the completion date, but it was an outdated facility, right? So for the officers that work here, having a place to be able to come and to decompress, to be able to have a safe space to eat, to do the reports, to maintain their fitness. I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful. I can tell you there is a saying for us officers, never forget, right? That we never forget who came before us. And Officer Chacon's family will share some stories here in a minute, but the impact that he had to know that he wore this blue uniform, he wore this badge, and to what he stood for, not just as a police officer, but the role that he had in the community, the pride that that gives me that I can continue his legacy, specifically here in the Southeast Area Command. Again, thank you for coming out. I look around and I see my time as the area commander for the last 4 years, all of the partnerships and relationships that I've been so blessed to create and have. You all showed up today, so thank you. Like the mayor said, we do have additions to this facility that we didn't have in the last facility. Example being the community room. I always envisioned it as a space to where, you know, taking the lead of other great stakeholders that we had. NMBLC, they, a couple months ago, they brought all of our business leaders here in the International District to a table to talk about issues and talk about solutions. That's what we want here for all of our neighborhood associations, our district coalitions, and all of our stakeholders. When it comes to public safety, bring everyone to the table to figure out the solutions that we need to make our community safe. And now, thank you to the mayor and the administration and council and all of our legislators, we have the facility to do that. So thank you so much. Again, this is very personal for me, having been raised here, and this was a second home to me, to be able to see this facility finally open. So thank you for being here today. At this time, I'd like to give the Chacon family some time to share who Officer Phil Chacon was. Thank you.
A little shorter. Hi, I'm Denise Chacon. I was Officer Phil Chacon's daughter. Thank you for being here today for this grand reopening for my dad's newly renovated substation. It's a beautiful space. I was here for the original, so this is definitely a much better space. It's truly an honor to stand here as the daughter of Officer Phil Chacon, whose legacy continues to inspire us all. My dad was killed in the line of duty on September 10th, 1980, when I was just 10 years old. For me, those 10 short years were filled with a lifetime of memories. Memories who shaped the person that I am today. While I spend every day trying to fill his shoes by showing kindness to others, I'll admit I often fall short, especially when I'm driving behind somebody who's driving slow in the fast lane. I bet some of you know exactly what I mean by that. But I start again every day inspired by his example. My dad was ahead of his time in so many ways, particularly how he treated people. He believed in what we now call diversity, equity, and inclusion, long before those words became a part of everyday conversation. He believed in the simple yet profound idea that everyone deserves respect, compassion, and a fair chance, regardless of their background, role, or circumstance. One of his favorite lessons feels right out of To Kill a Mockingbird, which was empathy, understanding people by seeing his world through their eyes. My dad didn't just talk about these principles, he lived them every day, every single day. To the officers working in this substation, you never had the chance to know him or meet him. I'd like to share a few stories to help you understand the man that he was. One night during his patrol, he came across a woman and her two small children. They had just left their home after a domestic dispute and had nowhere to go. He brought them to our home to give them the opportunity to rest for the night, and he found them a shelter the following day. I woke up the next morning and found them on our couch. It didn't surprise me because that's just the man he was. Another time he encountered a family who was stranded because their car had broke down. He found a friend whose family owned a motel, and he got them a room for the night free of charge. But he didn't stop there. He came to our home and scraped together what little money we had, and believe me, we didn't have much, to buy their baby some formula. He always believed that when someone needed help, you found a way. He also believed in building bridges in the community, which is what I think this building is going to do in this community. Relations between law enforcement and the Job Corps youth were strained at the time. So my dad organized a basketball game between the two groups. He even brought a live pig as the police department mascot, which I just saw a picture of today. Thank you for bringing that. Turning what could have been a contentious event into something lighthearted and fun. By the way, our family dog developed a huge crush on that pig. Beyond his police work, my dad was deeply involved in the community. He served as president for our elementary PTA. I know I see fellow elementary students here in the crowd. He even joined the bagpipe band when I was Scottish dancing, so you can imagine two proud Hispanics doing our Scottish thing. One of my favorite memories was when he did a ditch safety campaign for the police department, and he was carrying me out of Tingley Beach. It took us forever to get that picture because I kept giggling. He also organized 2 walkathons, Walk with a Cop, to raise money for sickle cell disease and muscular dystrophy. Through all this, my dad was teaching us about kindness, community, and standing up for what is right. Those lessons didn't stop with me. I've worked hard to pass those on to my daughter, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, his granddaughter, Braylyn. I'm proud to report that he'd be over the moon to see her standing up for people who are being bullied or to offer kind words to strangers. She's carrying on his legacy to remind us every day of the incredible man he was. To everyone here today, be proud of this substation and what it represents. You're part of a community that values courage, compassion, and connection, values that my dad held dear. He didn't just serve the city, he believed in it, and he believed in the people who call it home. Thank you for continuing to build those bridges and for ensuring that his spirit lives on in the work you do every day. Let's honor his memory by striving to treat everyone with dignity and respect, just as he did. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Robert. I'm Phil's son. Excuse me. First and foremost, I didn't even think about all the cameras that would be here. They say camera adds 10 pounds, so I'm really worried about this view you guys are getting at me, so be kind. Put the thin filter on me, please. My dad loved his job. He wanted to protect the good people in his city. He tried to better relations with the public. He wrote an article to either the Journal or the Tribune. If you remember when Albuquerque had 2 newspapers, here's your reminder to take your pills for your achy joints, your acid reflux, and your ginkgo biloba. In his article, he described being a cop from his point of view. He emphasized how, quote, I don't have a day, an hour, or a minute to analyze a potentially dangerous situation. I have to act now. I have to live with my decision and be ready to pay for my decision, right or wrong. Remember, I only have a second. It is so easy to look at decisions after the fact now, especially since we live in our age of technology with instant communication. With that said, my dad emphasized, quote, I'm not condoning excessive police force. If there's a bad cop, let's get rid of him. But don't drag down all the police officers for one person's actions. Be specific, give a name. He gave some examples, and here's one of them. If a doctor performs a surgery on a loved one and the loved one dies, you don't blame the entire medical community, you go after the doctor. In his article, in my opinion, this is the most important thing he said, quote, what's really hard for me to understand is this. In some cases, I have to hurt somebody to help them. And yes, I might have to kill somebody in order to help somebody. He ends his article by saying, He ends his article with saying, 99% of us became police officers for one reason, to help people, not to hurt them. I was just 6 years old the night I lost my dad. Sadly, my memories of him are fewer than I'd love to have. I would say most people who pass this substation don't even know who he is, let alone know how he died trying to protect his city. I'd like to thank everyone involved with this project to not just reopen the substation, but with this recognition of my dad, to know why his name is associated with this building. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you so much to the family for those remarks, and I just want to share too that, you know, this morning we did the Chiefs Run, which is a tradition with the cadets, and part of that is sharing stories about officers, and unfortunately officers who've lost their lives. And we thought it was especially fitting today, of course, that you're here and that we're telling the story of Officer Chacon. And we appreciate, hopefully, that this is a way to make sure that we tell his story to every officer who passes through this building and all the aspects of that story, because behind that badge is a family, is a whole person who cares about something besides more than just showing up to work each day. And that is so important to let our current officers know. And I also just want to appreciate, you know, given some of the context, that notion of individual accountability, which we certainly believe in, but also remembering the folks who do a good job every year, every day, every minute in our police department, and thanking them for their service. So I want to thank all our former and current men and women in the Albuquerque Police Department. Thank you for what you do for our families. So I think just some quick housekeeping items. What we'll do next, first I want to share, Chief Medina is at actually his his father-in-law's funeral. And so again, wishes he could be here. Obviously it's important he's there, but he also notes for the community that we do want to give you a little bit of just a quick update because you have a chance to meet some of the folks who work here. So Acting Major Langwit, his role that we're looking at is how we can clean up all of Central. So just want you to know that's hopefully going to be his role. We're piloting it right now. And I do want to also introduce, you never know because they're acting, but Acting Commander also in this area because he's here with us too, Acting Commander Richards. And so right now he's running the shop here. Okay, so with that, we certainly want to do Q&A and all those kinds of things that we always honor our media partners with. But I also know the community wants to get inside and take a look. So we're going to cut this ribbon, and Francesca will organize all the Q&A after the ribbon. Okay? So everyone who wants to come on up first, Chacones, please get front and center. And our Acting Commander and Acting Major and all the current and former officers, please come up. But listen, we want to invite the whole community. If you just want to be in the picture because you want to be in the picture, come on up. And anyone else who's interested, just kind of let them be up, the folks I mentioned be up front. Thank you.
Am I in your shot if I'm standing right here? Am I in his shot if I'm standing right here?
Okay, all right, let's do a countdown from 3 backwards. 3, 2, 1. Yeah!